All right, Deuteronomy 33, let's call this one, he loved his people, because that is going to come straight out of verse 3, where it's going to say, yes, he loved his people. And this is an interesting chapter, at least for me, because this generation was going to stumble in many of the same ways that the generation before it did, the one that perished in the wilderness. But in spite of that, he is going to bless the people in this chapter according to their tribes. And so instead of going through each of the blessings that he is going to give, the blessings that are unique to each tribe, one of the things that I noticed, with one exception, is that each one of these blessings is going to be a straight blessing. There's no backhanded compliment here, meaning there are times in life where when you've gone through frustration and you're forced to give a compliment, you give it, but we can be tempted to give it with an insult, coated within the sweetness of our words. But that's not what Moses does here. He seems to be giving unabated blessings, and to the degree there doesn't seem to be an appropriate blessing to give, there is one tribe that's left out, the tribe of Simeon. But other than that, these seem to be genuine blessings that he is giving to people that he has already said, I know the mistakes that you are going to make. And so what does that say to us? Ultimately, God willing, we can keep our focus on what God has planned for us, that is rooted in verse 3. God loved his people. And so likewise, when God starts us off on a thing, it says he sees the end of a thing from the beginning. And many times he will see all of the mistakes that we are going to make along the way. But beyond that, he sees the end. And that end looks a whole lot like what we see in these blessings on these people who are going to make many mistakes. They are unmitigated blessings, not backhanded compliments that in many ways look like his creation that we see in Genesis. It starts out in a garden where on each day of creation it says it was good, finishing up at the point at which he creates man, where he's going to say it is very good. But we know how it goes in the meantime. Most of the Bible is about the adversity of highs and lows, of reaching great heights, but trying to bounce back in recovery from the mistakes that we make. And so at the very end, in the Revelation, even though it can be a terrifying book, ultimately it ends up with the same kind of peace you see at the beginning. And so in many ways, much like he started the story of creation, he's starting out the story of his nation, of people who, in spite of all the mistakes they're going to make along the way, he is blessing, so that after they have turned back to him, he can return them to where he started, a place of blessing. And so understand, in life, we are all going to have probably at least two things in common. One, in trying to do the right thing biblically, in trying to serve God, he promised that we are going to deal with suffering. That's just a part of it. Most of the book of 1 Peter is written to encourage those of us who are suffering for God's sake, not necessarily through any fault of our own, but trying to encourage us not to give up and lose focus on the fact that at the end, he is trying to put us in a place where we can, as we often say, rejoice without regret. But beyond that, to the degree that we do stumble, one of the things I think we all share in common as well is the fact that we're all recovering from something. And to the degree that recovery requires difficult times, it helps us, much like God is encouraging Israel here, to remember why you were created. And so as Moses is offering up unique blessings to the tribes of Israel in Deuteronomy 33, helping them to remember why they were created. Likewise with us, God has unique blessings designed for who you are as an individual, not just blanket blessings for everyone, but blessings that are designed for who you are and the adversity that you have been through. And God willing, you will be confident in understanding why he created you, until he restores you free of any fine print, catches, or backhanded compliments, to the unmitigated joy he created you for in the first place.